Welcome to Pick Me Up Infinite Gacha. In the mobile gacha game infamous for its atrocious difficulty, Loki, ranked 5th globally, blacks out mid-raid. He awakens as Han Islat, a level 1, 1-star hero. To return home, he must lead rookies and heroes to conquer the 100th dungeon floor. A man introduces himself as Mormont Carl, saying he's a mercenary, and another man introduces himself as Lyle, remarking that he doesn't know why they're here. A boy nervously says he's Grit and works at an antique store in Halcyon, admitting that he also doesn't know why they're here. A girl says she's Jenna, who was living in a remote forest and also doesn't know what's going on. Finally, a man tells them he's a farmer named Han Islat, and the same goes for him. The others question how all the 11 people here don't know why they're here, so Lyle thoughtfully remarks that the only thing certain is the fact that they're all from Townier, and wonders if they'll be able to figure something out if they keep conversing with each other, but a girl suddenly appears and asks what they're talking about, ordering them all to get ready to fight since Master is about to open a space-time rift. She introduces herself as Usul, a fairy who managed this entire place, and tells them to stay in line if they don't want to get hurt. Mormont asks how she can be so thoughtless after kidnapping people and declares that he's going to make her spit it all out. Hearing this, she advises him to stop if he doesn't want to die, but he says he's going to teach her some manners, so she instantly beheads him, telling the others that anyone who lays a finger on her will end up a corpse. The others react to this with shock and wonder if he's really dead, and one of them tells the fairy to use her words if there's something she wants. She tells them that what she wants is for them to listen to her orders, fight well and win. Notifications suddenly start popping up, stating that parties have been formed, seeing which she remarks that Masters started operating and tells everyone to get ready before opening up a space-time rift and telling everyone to get in, but Han asks her to tell the Master to summon them a weapon for them to climb the tower since they're 1-stars without even a basic weapon. She admits that's true and asks her Master to summon a weapon for them. Hans tells the others to get themselves a weapon since it's going to be starting soon. Everyone pick out their weapons, and Usul tells 5 of them to enter the door, while Jenna notices Han examining a shield and wonders if she should have gone for that one before asking him if he knows what's going to happen, why they need weapons, where they are, and why there's a fairy with them. He remarks that she really has a lot of questions and says she just has to go into the battlefield and kill all the enemies while figuring out the rest by herself. He suddenly sees that the first party was wiped out on the first floor and tells Jenna that it's their turn next, as she questions why the people that left earlier aren't back yet. A man asks the fairy to leave him out, sign he can't walk because of his arthritis, but Jenna drags him along as the rest slowly enter the rift, with Han confidently leading them. They reach the first floor of a mysterious dungeon, and Han hurriedly tells the others to get ready as the door starts opening. They're suddenly transported to a different world where they're ordered to slay all enemies, so Han tells the others again that they'll die if they don't fight, but sees the 3 guys running away as fast as they can. Jenna stays with him and asks if they'll be able to leave after defeating the goblins, so he tells her to shoot with her bow from afar while he fights the goblins. The goblins start rushing forward as Han inwardly admits he's never wielded a sword or a shield before, and his real name is Han Seojin, who got sucked into this RNG game. Pick Me Up, a mobile game made by Mobius. The goal of the game is to get to the 100th floor of the tower, so you create materials to support and fortify your hero and use strategy and tactics to clear the tower. Until yesterday, he was living an ordinary life. Heroes range from 1-7 stars, and he's a guy with horrible luck, and even with thousands of gacha pulls, he's never gotten a hero over 5 stars once, even though everyone else has them. Unlike other games, Pick Me Up has hardcore rules to it. Even the heroes you put your all into cannot be revived if they die. As he's playing, he suddenly starts receiving a warning, and a player named Level 999 kills his hero before a notification pops up telling him that he's lost. He remarks that this is an obvious system error before suddenly realizing he can't see anything. A screen creates an account and asks him to name his character before accidentally choosing anything and taking him to the tutorial section. A screen explains that he's Han Islat, and that he's in Taunia, the ground where humans live alongside other species which an unknown enemy invades. It tells him to climb the tower if he wishes to escape and to take down the goblins. He confronts a goblin and remarks that this isn't realistic at all before it jumps at him. He manages to block its attack and slashes it with his sword, remarking that his brain couldn't follow the feeling of killing another organism. Later, he wonders if he's in some sort of game before suddenly realizing it's pick-me-up as a door opens, and he pulls a super rare comrade named Shay. He wonders if he got summoned like that too, as Shay asks if he's the one who summoned him, and in a battle, Han remarks that she's strong enough to take down 4 goblins at once. Unlike him, who's never held a sword before, they had an overwhelming stat difference, but he didn't have a problem with it since she was 3 stars higher than him. But the problem started from there. He recognizes Usul from the game and tells her to teleport him back to Seoul, but she just tells him to go inside the doors for synthesis, which he denies and says he'll die. He suddenly gets thrown inside and Shay tells him that the synthesis is starting. He inwardly explains that synthesis means enhancing a hero by sacrificing the other. But the problem lies in the fact that he's a 1-star knight, and she's a 4-star, so a normal player would have 0 reason to let him live and kill off Shay. As synthesis ends, he realizes he was the one chosen in shock as Shay bids him farewell and dissipates. In present day, he remarks that he was able to survive and admits he was lucky Shay died because the master was stupid, which is why this is such a bad game. He's about to tell Jenna to regroup, but suddenly gets attacked by a goblin from behind, so he crushes it with his shield, remarking that a level 999 bug stared at him and laughed right before he got summoned, so it must have been that thing that dragged him here. He menacingly declares that it messed with the wrong person, and a while later, as she's sitting beside the corpses of the dead goblins, Jenna worryingly looks at his missing arm, but he tells her it'll be fine once they go back, remarking that there is almost 0 player control with the combat in this game, because of which the heroes automatically do most of the combat, but this game still has over 1 million downloads worldwide because you can observe this world like a god. He looks over at the eye staring at him from above and menacingly questions if it's having fun, and inwardly says he was also a player who enjoyed pick-me-up because of its item crafting, tactics and strategy, hero ascension with hidden features. He tells the 5th place ranker, Loki, to watch him until the end. He decided to accept that winning is for children, so he won't complain anymore since this is the world of pick-me-up, and he was summoned as a 1-star hero from birth. Han explains there are 2 ways for heroes to die, in a battle or by being compounded, and he's only a 1-star who are completely disposable and of the lowest quality. The basic stats are pathetic and the growth rate is low too, so he won't be able to escape the risk of being compounded at this rate and has to become stronger. He has to survive, revenge and return, but all of that is impossible if he doesn't get any stronger. He admits he'll be eaten alive if he doesn't accept things as they are, and tells himself that he has to become mentally stronger too, because he can't survive this place with an unstable mentality. As he's exercising, Jenna asks what he's doing and says she was looking for him since she thought of what she's going to do all night. She aims at a dummy and reveals her father was an archer, telling him that she won't be a burden. Han asks if yesterday was the first time she had to fight to protect her life and notes that she got 4 stats points from yesterday when she reveals it was. He remarks that she's lower than him, but has still got her unique skills, and adds that she moves on from others' death quickly and knows what her goal is before acknowledging her as a diamond in the rough. He agrees to help her, so she holds her hand out and tells him of how her dad always said building connections is very important in life before they shake hands. Han calls for Usul, who says she's not going to answer him no matter how many times he tries, so he asks if he's the only one who can see the stats window above her head. She becomes flustered and nervously says she doesn't know what he's talking about, but he remarks that it says 257 above her head. Seeing her reaction, he confirms that he's the only one who can see the game's messages and asks her of what happens if the master quits, so she tells him to pray that he doesn't before he confirms that the time here and on Earth is different. He tells Jenna that they have to go through the 100 stages of this tower and have to complete the missions the Master gives them. He assures her that Master is probably going to summon other different heroes along with them too, and inwardly remarks that his life hangs on the choices he makes from now, although ultimately, both their lives are in the hands of the Master. After completing a day of training, Han discovers a rule of the world. Daily necessities and food are replenished every day, and if you imagine something you would like to have, it appears in a drawer or closet, although guns and similar things obviously don't work. He adds that the results of training are also very different, since there are occasionally herds that have different powers than others that are in the same rank. Although training doesn't increase stats or levels, it refines skill learning and skills in general. The Master will soon place the summons into 3 categories. Mentality: he doesn't care for those who are prone to panicking. Skills: high-ranking heroes are summoned with their skills already learned, but skills of low-ranking heroes are hidden, so Master has to look for them manually. And physical capability, the thing he's trying to improve right now. On the 3rd day of summoning, Master logged in and began summoning. 3 men appear and immediately start questioning what's happening, but Han and Jenna determinedly enter the dungeon and get ready to fight the enemies. The men are shocked upon seeing the monsters around them, so Han tells Jenna to take care of the 2 goblins while he fights the wolves and swiftly kills one. Han whirls around and blocks another wolf before slashing it as well. He sees that the goblins are dead as well and tells Jenna that she's turned it into a real pincushion, asking just how many arrows she shot into it and telling her it's dead. They leave the dungeon after clearing the 2nd floor, but realize they're being sent to the 3rd floor directly before the Master logs out, and Han breathes a sigh of relief. He wonders if it's 1 floor per day and calculates that the Master should be logging in once every 3 days before taking a look at his stats. The newly summoned men ask Jenna why they're being forced to fight, hearing which he looks over at them and remarks that 1-star players are just regular people who've lived a life far removed from the battlefield. He realizes why they're called 1-stars and remembers the 2-star mercenary Mormont, wondering if more combat-focused individuals are ranked higher. He says 1-star mercenaries will go into fear or panic mode as soon as they're thrown into battle, but that isn't the case with 3 stars or up. He wonders if they were summoned with prior knowledge and remarks that Shay probably knew considering her demeanor. Jenna annoyingly asks if he can't help with those guys, so he asks her why he'd bother with useless trash like them when they'll disappear soon anyway. He tells her to forget these guys and that they'll be fighting together next time before one of the men approaches him and says he has a question. Han tells him to keep it to himself, hearing which the guy angrily grabs his collar, so he pummels him in the face and says they were all hopping around in the back while he and Jenna were losing blood out there. Training continued the next day, and they went into weapon training, although it was just him swinging a wooden sword and Jenna with her bow, while the other 3 went around trying to look for an exit. As they're training, Han tries to swiftly block all of Jenna's arrows, but one of them catches his leg. But he tells her not to worry about it because the laws here aren't the same as where they're originally from, since wounds heal quickly here. He tells her to continue training, remarking that pain is good because it reminds him he's alive. They arrive at the square where Usul angrily tells them off, but Jenna remarks that her body's itching for a change after all that training, hearing which Han asks her how she's adapting faster than him, so she coolly says she's made of tough stuff. Listening to the other 3 guys rambling about how they want to go home, Usul angrily beats them up and orders them to get into the dungeon where Han and Jenna start fighting, as he remarks that the 3rd floor isn't a big deal and agrees with Jenna on the fact that it was a bit boring this time once they're done. She looks over at the others and wearily says they still aren't fighting, so he tells her it doesn't matter since he doesn't want to split exp with them anyways, and they won't get any if they don't participate in battle. He notices that the Master is about to spin the Wheel of Fortune, and they get teleported to the 1st floor, seeing which he remarks that it seems like he isn't totally heartless and sees that the goblins are exactly the same as the ones they fought on the 1st floor. They quickly clear the stage with Jenna being the MVP, but the option to attempt floor 1 appears again, seeing which he believes the master isn't going to let them rest easily if they clear the floor out so quickly, so they clear the floors again, after which Jenna wearily admits she's tired as they return from the dungeon. She says she's tired of doing all the work, so he tells her to not worry since it'll all be over after today, since he doesn't think the master is so well off that they can afford to keep these good-for-nothings for long. Synthesis begins, and the system asks the master to choose the heroes, seeing which Han says goodbye to the idiots who couldn't even grab an opportunity when it was handed to them. Han remarks that a lot of chances have been given and adds that the master shouldn't be clueless on the whole thing and should know who fights the monsters on the front lines, who plays an active part, and who does absolutely nothing. Usul tells Jenna and Usulsons to go to the synthesizing room, so Han assures her that she'll be fine. The man questions what he's done and says he was randomly dragged here, but Han says it would have been different if he had at least pretended to fight, so he shakily goes in and tries to break out of the room as he gets dissipated. Jenna questions what happened, so Han tells her that those who are useless are wasted as sacrifices in this place and wonder which one will be with him before Toby gets selected. In the room, he manically thinks he's being sent home, but Hans slowly exits the room later and tells the only remaining guy that he was lucky. Jenna wonders if she'll be killed if she becomes useless, but Han just tells her to follow what her father said if she wants to live. The second day, the only remaining guy apologizes and admits he was wrong, assuring them that it will be different from now, so Han throws him a spear and asks if he knows of the basics, explaining that the most efficient way to progress when there are only 3 of them in the party is to have a sword as close-ranged, spear as mid-ranged, and a bow as their long-ranged weapon. He rushes forward to spar with the man and tells him that he learned how to fight by himself, which is why so he should too. As Han begins attacking him from every way, he tells him to be thankful he has someone to spar with since he only had scarecrows as opponents, so the man nervously shuts his eyes and rushes at him, but Han kicks him in the chest and asks if this is all he's got when they're not even putting their lives on the line, telling him that he'd already be dead if there was a monster instead of him. Jenna asks if he isn't being too harsh for the guy's first time, so he says he doesn't want to be caring for anyone and tells her that he'll leave her behind if she can't keep up. He asks the guy if he's got any family, so he reveals that he has a little sister waiting for him. Han remarks that he at least has someone waiting for him and asks what'll happen if he fails to go home, since it'd be really painful to die at the hands of a monster, more painful than being synthesized, telling him to just give up if he can't go on like this. The man angrily grits his teeth, seeing which Han grins and remarks that the spark in his eyes is much brighter than it was before. Later, he unlocks free roam and opens the forge before telling Usul to come out and instructing her to go on the internet, since she should be able to do that if she can interfere with the system. She admits she can, so he asks her why she likes the 5th master, Loki. She says it's because he made the impossible possible and asks how he doesn't know when he's a pick-me-up user, but he says sorry for breaking the news and reveals that he is Loki. Today, our tale is about Han, a seasoned player of the virtual reality game Pick Me Up. One day, as he logged in for his routine gaming session, he found himself unexpectedly transported into the game world. But there's a twist: he is not the master he's used to. Instead, he's been reset to level 1 player. Now, Han must navigate through the game's challenges and clear all 100 floors to return to Earth. Join as we delve deep into this thrilling tale of adventure. Han asks Usul what she likes about Loki. She explains it's because he makes the impossible possible. Han is impressed by her answer, but expresses pity for her. Usul becomes furious, but before she can react, Han reveals that he is Loki. Confused, Usul doubts him, but Han provides his account number, known only to the account holder and server managers. He even offers his Google account information. Usul checks and discovers that Han is indeed Loki. This revelation shocks her, and she's thrilled to have finally met the infamous Loki. Usul requests Han's autograph and excitedly declares her intention to become the top member of the Ragnar Loki Club. Han is puzzled as he hasn't heard of the club before. Usul explains it's a fan club dedicated to Master Loki, and members can climb ranks by obtaining Loki's autograph. Then, realizing her earlier rudeness, Usul apologizes for her behavior. Han obliges, signing his autograph. Usul then asks what would happen to Niflheim without him. Han admits he has no idea, revealing that Niflheim is the name of the lounge in his account, boasting 13 floors and a capacity of 20,000. Most of the buildings were at level 18, indicating it's the in-game stage, and Han was the master of this world. Usul isn't pleased with his decision to stay in this world instead of sorting out the other one. Han urges Usul to let him go back and help sort out Niflheim, but she feels powerless as just a middle-level admin who gets pushed around. Han switches topics, asking Usul about the world they're in. He assumes the summoned heroes aren't AI, and Usul agrees, explaining they are humans from different worlds. Usul explains that Master Whatever doesn't know that they were summoning humans because he was simply a player who enjoyed the thrill of the game. Since the heroes are just products of entertainment, they encounter various dangers. Han questions Usul about whether he will return to Earth when he reaches the 100th stage, but she claims not to know. Han remains skeptical of her answer. He then asks who summoned him to the present Earth, but Usul evades the question, suggesting he'll figure it out as he progresses through the towers. Han asks Usul how far into the Master's authority she can go. She explains that currently, her role involves supporting them by providing assistance in opening and closing places and supporting their decisions. Han also inquires about the Master's lounges, and Usul clarifies that while they are all somewhat different, the basic structure is usually the same. Han concludes that the fact that there exist 100 million worlds within the Mobius summon system, which supposedly summons an infinite number of heroes with thousands of patterns, was a lie, and they are actually real humans. Additionally, Han realizes that roguelike, a system believed to have created infinite content, has 100 million individual worlds as well. Han realizes that all the careless decisions he took for heroes have been a death sentence for others. He calls Usul and tells her that if she wants to climb the tower, she has to listen to what he has to say. He starts telling her about Jenna, describing her as a genius who has grown at an unthinkable speed that can't be considered 1 star. Despite never having held a dagger before, Jenna has quickly figured out the principles. On the other hand, Eren appears sluggish, and there's a risk of him dying if this persists. After the private conversation with Usul, they head to the training field. Jenna informs Han that Eren hasn't been very active since she defeated him. Han instructs Jenna to follow him out of the field. As Jenna starts following Han, Usul pushes her away, asserting that Jenna has no right to follow him directly because she isn't his #1 follower. A brief argument ensues between Usul and Jenna as they both vie to become Han's #1 subordinate. Han takes Usul to the storage room and asks her to open it up. She does so, and they acquire some items added to their inventory. Jenna questions Han about his intentions with the items they obtained from the storage. Han responds that he's tired of using a worn-down steel blade. From the conversation with Usul, Han had discovered that he is a half-master, half-hero. Being half-master, he uses the items obtained from the storage. Han crafts a manual. A notification appears, prompting him to select the puzzle difficulty level. Opting for the extreme hell difficulty, despite Usul's displeasure due to its triple penalty, Han explains that the rewards in the game for masters are highly rewarding. He receives a puzzle to solve in order to obtain his new weapon and continue the battle. Successfully completing the puzzle, Han crafts a well-forged longsword. The longsword is sturdy, light, and sharp, with the materials skillfully fixed despite being loose initially. Han creates more weapons like the balanced shortbow, sharp long spear, and hard iron shield. However, all the weapons he crafts are of C rank, seemingly due to poor quality materials. Usul asks him if he wants to make more weapons, but Han declines, fearing that it would arouse suspicion from the master. It's time to fight for 4th floor's duty-type conquest goal and kill all enemies while they attack. Eren becomes too excited initially, overwhelmed by fear, but he manages to gather himself. With Han and Jenna's support, fighting becomes easier for him. They defeat the enemies and successfully clear the floor. With Eren leveling up and Han being the MVP, they receive useful rewards for their efforts. After the fight, they pause for a discussion. Eren expresses concern that the Master might kill him because he didn't contribute much on the battlefield. However, instead of punishment, he finds himself added to the Master's favor. Jenna comments on Eren that following Subordinate 1, Subordinate 2 has grown up as well, but Han doesn't see him merely as a subordinate. As Han walks away, he mentions that his subordinate number 1 would typically be infamous Cirrus from Niflheim. He describes Cirrus as one of the 5 members of Party 1, boasting 6 stars and level 99 with 5 divine weapons that he personally crafted and plastered with ultimate skills. Han tells himself that he may meet them someday as he climbs the tower. He says as this is an idle game, Submaster Cirrus will do fine on his own, and then mentions that Unit is there as well just in case Cirrus needs help. Han notes that Cirrus and Unit were so intelligent and clear-minded that he was beginning to doubt whether they were AI. Meanwhile, in another world, Cirrus tries to convince Unit not to go out for an investigation, but Unit remains adamant. Cirrus decides she won't accompany Unit and leaves the investigation entirely to her. Unit agrees, stating she'll handle everything, including their master's whereabouts. After the heroes finish the battle on the last floor, they receive upgrades from the Master. Their lodging levels up to level 2, increasing the limit on heroes. Additionally, the restaurant in the lodging has been completed, and high-quality food will now be provided for the heroes. The training center has been leveled up to level 2, increasing the efficiency of hero training. The weapons storage, 3-piece accessory buildings, smith woodworking shop, and metal processing shop are to be combined into an equipment workshop. The square has been evolved to level 2 by the Master, who upgraded the area where the heroes live. This upgrade makes it feel like he's playing with real people rather than a bunch of zeros. Han explains the upgrade to the rest of the heroes, mentioning that the waiting rooms improve as they ascend the tower. In Pick Me Up, obtaining gems isn't as straightforward as completing missions or participating in events. There are few events that offer a significant number of gems. As they discuss this, a notification announces the Master starting a 10x summoning. Eren expresses surprise, and Han explains it's a housewarming invitation after finishing house decorations. Han outlines 2 summoning methods, regular with gold and advanced with gems, more enticing for spending money. The summoned heroes appear confused, questioning their whereabouts and the situation. Han grows tired of their questions and points his sword at the man who claimed to have been at home moments ago. Startled and afraid, the man asks who they are. Han commands them to quiet down, stating he won't explain things to them at the moment. He tells them to survive on their own and promises to explain everything to those who manage to survive. Usul steps in, seeking individuals with specific skills, carpenters, blacksmiths, tanners, and cooks. However, her efforts are disrupted by interruptions. One man demands an explanation, while others express confusion or make derogatory remarks. Han intervenes, instructing Usul to silence them. Jenna questions Han about Usul's actions, and he clarifies that roles are being assigned due to new facilities. He suggests that the deceased heroes might have had other careers, prompting the need for organization. As system notifications prompt the formation of parties and Party 2 emerge, Zid, Hansen, John, and Teddy. It is mentioned that for those without any specialty, they must rely on their physical abilities, as those who are unskilled feeding them would be a waste. The Master will separate the useful ones, and he is weeding out the freshly summoned 1-stars by sending them into the dungeon. Usul urges them to hurry and enter the dungeon, warning that failure to adapt will result in death by natural selection, likely at stage 1. Once everyone is inside, the dungeon door closes, followed shortly by a system notification announcing John's death, honoring his courage. Han points out that one person has already perished. Jenna questions him about whether he should have explained better, to which he responds that there's no need to explain to those who died on the lowest floors. Another system notification appears, announcing Teddy's death, with his bravery to be remembered. Han notes that 2 have died already, but 2 have also survived. Usul then calls out the other newly summoned heroes, Dika, Deckard, Sigler, and Chloe. Despite their apprehension, Eren steps forward, declaring he'll fight with them. Usul protests, saying it's not his fight, but Eren insists. Han intervenes, telling Usul to let Eren join the party as he also lacks combat skills, making his inclusion not so bad. Another system notification announces Teddy's death, making it 2 casualties and 2 survivors. Usul calls out the other newly summoned heroes, Dika, Deckard, Sigler, and Chloe. Eren steps forward to fight despite Usul's protest. Han intervenes, allowing Eren to join. The system asks if the party will accept Eren, and he joins. Han advises Eren not to set a precedent. Jenna complains about the food, and Han reassures her. The system shows the master their displeasure. After a while, the system notification pops up, indicating that the stage is clear. Han notes that nobody died and asks Eren how many zombies he killed. Eren replies that he killed 1, and Han commends him. Jenna, upon their arrival, expresses her admiration, noting that the building has definitely improved, appearing larger and more refined. She excitedly wonders if they can now eat expensive food since there's a dining room. Han responds that they can if the master doesn't consider them useless, which excites Jenna. To her, it feels like they've been served the highest grade of lamb steak. In contrast, Eren is content with turkey. Han remains indifferent, reminding them they'll be discarded if deemed useless. They are served potatoes again, and their expressions darken at the sight. The chef mentions condiments, but only potatoes are available. Han grumbles about the chef's incompetence, frustrated by his claims. He checks Dolph's stats, level 1 novice with no skills. Han becomes slightly angry, realizing Dolph lacks cooking skills. He scans the group to see if anyone else has cooking abilities and notices Chloe. Surprised, Han asks Chloe if she can cook. Stammering, she confirms, and Han decides she'll be the cook from now on. The system notification appears, asking if Chloe should replace Dolph as the cook, and Han selects yes. Desperate, Dolph tries to plead his case, but Han sees through it, warning him that lying won't work again. He emphasizes it's the last time he'll overlook such behavior, leaving Dolph visibly frightened. Chloe's cooking impresses Jenna, who finds it delicious and marvels at the variety of flavors potatoes can offer. Interrupting their meal, Han urges them to listen carefully, warning that he won't repeat himself, and explains everything to them. After a little discussion, Han explains that Enoch is the carpenter and Chloe is the cook, but they can also assist in other ways. Dolph stammers, suggesting he could be a carpenter too, but Han warns him against lying again, threatening to recommend him as the first sacrifice to the synthesis. This silences Dolph. Han explains that non-combat roles offer higher chances of survival, but they shouldn't get complacent as spots are limited. If a more skilled person is summoned, they might end up with a combat role. From the second day, the simple life slowly began to change. Han notes that only 3 of them, Zid, Hansen, and Dika, who are 20 and under, join the training. Jenna notices everyone's fear and their search for refuge. Han expresses boredom with sparring with Eren and suggests a change. He easily defeats them and reflects on Eren's influence, noting they've started calling him boss like Eren. Jenna's archery skill reaches level 5, her dagger skill level 2. Eren's spear skill is at level 2 but hasn't progressed. Despite diligent training, he hasn't gained a useful skill. Han observes the younger trainees' synchronized spirits, all at level 1 swordsmanship. Zid acknowledges Han's strength, to which Han attributes his higher level. When Dika inquires about his level, Han assures them they will find out soon. He privately admits they're better than those hiding away. The free 10x pull happens again, this time without Han's intervention. Eren and the others handle it, with only 1 casualty during the thinning process. Jenna notices more arrivals with a smile, but Han warns her that more will come. When Jenna questions the master's delay in advancing to the 5th floor, Han explains to himself the significant challenge of the next stage. He notes that one party member hasn't been selected yet. Reflecting on the increasing difficulty every 5 stages, Han divides the team. Jenna, Han, Eren, Zid, Hansen, and Dika form the combat team, while Enoch and Chloe join the support team. On the 4th floor, Zid and Hansen take the lead with shields raised and swords in hand, while Dika positions himself in the middle with a spear. Despite expressing their reliance on Han, he reassures them, emphasizing their role as shields. They advance, with Zid and Hansen successfully blocking attacks with their shields while Dika strikes from behind with his spear. Han observes their teamwork, opting not to join the fight to ensure they gain formation practice. The system notification confirms the stage's completion, with Zid and Hansen leveling up and Jenna earning the MVP title. As Hansen and Zid exchange a high five, Han reflects on the upcoming challenges of the 5th floor, uncertain about missions he might struggle with alone. Despite his concerns, the team remains optimistic. In the second 10 pull, they acquire a blacksmith and a tanner, boosting equipment production. Collaborating with the carpenter, they focus on crafting E-rank swords and shields, improving the new hero's survival chances. Meanwhile, the main party receives higher quality gear. 3 people, including Dolph, who lied about his title, are synthesized. Han emphasizes the need for vigilance going forward. After a few days, Zid complains about repeatedly returning to the 4th floor and expresses a desire to progress to the next floor. Later, upon arrival at 5th floor, they discover an abandoned, ruined village. Eren notices the absence of monsters, prompting Han to suggest exploring the city first. As they enter, Han observes the emptiness, devoid of both monsters and civilians. Zid's scream draws Han's attention to a corpse, a skeleton with dried bloodstains and torn clothes. Eren is spooked, questioning the eerie atmosphere, while Jenna remarks on the stark difference from their previous missions. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Han swiftly instructs Jenna to climb the clock tower for better visibility. She ascends and reports seeing the city but hesitates before expressing her concern. Eren presses for details, prompting Jenna to reveal that there are numerous goblins outside the city, all converging toward them. Han immediately asks for a count, and Jenna, visibly frightened and stammering, estimates there are thousands of them. On floor 5, the mission category is survival, with the goal to survive the horde of enemies. Eren shouts, noting the presence of 1,000 zombies, while Jenna expresses a wish that it wasn't the case. Han instructs Jenna to get down for now. Eren, spooked, questions Han about their actions, to which Han reassures him, explaining the mission's goal of survival and the need to stay alive for a certain duration. As they attempt to seek refuge in the buildings, but find themselves unable to enter, Han quickly adapts, directing them to change their location swiftly. They all begin running. Eren questions the duration they need to stay alive, to which Han responds that they must survive for 10 minutes after the enemies arrive. Eren finds this feasible, while Han wears a serious expression as a system notification appears, indicating they have to survive for 30 minutes. Han reflects that the probability of a party surviving a survival mission from past floors was 9%. Han directs them to avoid the main streets and head to the alley, which they agree to. Noting the lack of tall buildings and the danger of low-rise structures, they reach a dead end and form a defensive circle. Despite Zid's query about a better location, Han confirms there are no alternatives and urges them to proceed. They agree and prepare to confront the enemy, pledging to try their best. Han assigns tasks and emphasizes fighting in turns without assistance to conserve energy. Jenna is instructed to use her arrows sparingly. They agree to create a barricade and acknowledge the consequences of failure. As the first goblin approaches and detects their scent, it emits a loud shriek, alerting the others and initiating the timer. Unable to finish the barricade, Han swiftly dispatches the first goblin and warns the others of the impending horde. Endless goblins rush toward them, prompting Han to direct the others to create a wall with the goblin corpses. They comply, and Han continues to eliminate the goblins before more arrive from behind. Jenna offers her assistance, ready to act if Han grows weary. Han maintains his blocking and stabbing pattern, urging the goblins to act foolishly as he dispatches another one. When Eren asks again about surviving for just 10 minutes while killing goblins, Han responds with a question, asking if he has ever lied to him. With 26 minutes left, Han reassures himself that they can't die in a place like this. The party, consisting of Jenna, Zid, and Hansen, fights tirelessly, but the goblins keep coming. Time passes, but the onslaught continues unabated. Han raises his voice, instructing Zid to switch places with Hansen. Despite Zid's exhaustion, he insists he can continue, but Han sharply tells him to listen and obey. Han is troubled by Zid's lack of stamina. Not only is he low level, but his techniques are also lacking. Han emphasizes the need for efficiency, advising Zid to conserve his energy and use only one slash per monster. With frustration, Han observes the seemingly endless wave of weak goblins charging ahead without fear. He orders another switch in positions to mitigate the danger, instructing Jenna to assist Zid and collect her arrows for reuse. Jenna complies, acknowledging she's been waiting for the instruction. Han directs her to eliminate the goblins that breach their defenses, and she begins headshotting the incoming goblins. As the chaos ensues, Eren questions Han's earlier claim of only needing to survive for 10 minutes. Han calmly corrects him, stating it has only been 5 minutes since the onslaught began. Jenna, while pulling her arrow from a dead goblin, mutters about their persistence. Suddenly, Zid screams as his arm is severed, causing a system notification about his bleeding status. Han swiftly orders Hansen to switch places with Zid, urging Zid to hold on and not worry about himself. However, Hansen hesitates after seeing Zid's injury, prompting Han to scold him for his hesitation. Another system notification informs them that Zid has fallen into a state of fear, reducing all his stats by 30%. Han slashes through the goblins and kicks Zid in the face, urging him to pull himself together and stop jeopardizing the group's safety. Zid apologizes, and Han orders Jenna to stop the bleeding while reprimanding Zid for his actions. With some encouragement, Zid regains his composure, agreeing to switch places with Hansen. Han continues to fight off the goblins, criticizing the quality of Hansen's sword and asking Zid if he can fight with it. Zid assures him he can, and they switch positions, with Han instructing Hansen to repair his sword. Han anticipates this necessity, knowing that although the sword is an improvement over the F-rank old iron one, it's still just a normal iron sword. Blades by using their shields. He orders Jenna to switch with Eren, emphasizing the importance of resting while they can. Despite Eren's objections, Jenna quickly takes over, urging Eren not to be stubborn. Han urges them to hang on for just 3 more minutes, feeling the weight of time dragging on. He instructs Jenna to switch with Eren again, but she hesitates, prompting Eren to reassure her that even a short break is valuable. As Hansen swaps positions with Zid, who appears on the verge of collapse, Han directs Jenna to focus her arrows on Hansen's side, despite her reluctance due to the limited number of arrows left. As the battle intensifies, Zid is suddenly stabbed in the chest, causing him to collapse. Jenna swiftly dispatches the goblin responsible, but it's too late for Zid, who falls with a fatal wound to the chest.
Thanks for watching the latest part from the voice of Manhwa. Subscribe for more content and don't forget to comment below what you want to see in the future. Like and share for more.